Hi, and welcome back. Let's deep dive right away into the 8 pitfalls of organizations when they approach change. In his book, Leading Change, John Kotter has summarized his insights from many decades of research. And here he has outlined 8 pitfalls that organizations need to look out for when they approach changing their organization. Number 1, underestimating the power of vision. Most organizations that I work with, or usually before I start working with them, whenever they want to do anything, be it product development or changing the organization, which can also be seen as product development because the organization is the product and you're building that next generation of the product, they don't create an appropriate product vision, or in this case, a change vision. And even if they do, it's not usually very clear what kind of outcomes, what kind of results an organization aspires to achieve by doing this kind of change. Number 2, neglecting to anchor changes firmly into the organization's culture. If you remember the competing values framework, it not only gave us a good assessment of the organization's culture, but based on that assessment, we could also identify what would be a preferred way of changing that organization. And similar to that preferred way of changing an organization, there are a bunch of other values that one needs to account for when you do an organization's change or when you design that change journey. And those things need to be connected to the overall change approach. Number 3, failing to create a sufficiently powerful guiding coalition. In many organizations, whenever they want to approach such a big corporate change initiative, yes, the CEO and the C-level in general are aware of it. But do they really select some of their best people to drive that change? Unfortunately not. But when you're really thinking about it, this organizational change, that cultural change initiative that you're aiming for in order to achieve a different set of business outcomes requires the best people in the org. And in most cases, you also need people from a cross-section of different departments. So it's not only HR, it's also people from finance, people from product development, people from quality assurance, people from legal and compliance. But ideally, you need some of the best people so that they can really drive that change initiative forward. Number 4, under-communicating the vision by a factor of 10. Even if organizations do have a vision for their change, they usually do not communicate it enough. Most of those organizations have one all-hands meeting where everyone gets together and they share the vision once. To those of you that have kids, how often do you have to ask your kids before they do something? Is it once or twice or maybe 3 times? In my case, it's at least 10 times. Why? Because they don't take me serious if I only ask for something once. They are already busy. They're playing with something. They don't want to do those things. But if they hear me asking for it over and over again, they actually realize that this is important. And the same happens in organizations. All of the employees in an organization are already busy, at least usually. Now, as they're busy, having the change initiative come on top of things, they probably don't have time for it. They probably don't want to make time for it. But if they hear their leadership team speak about it over and over again, they know that this is serious, that this is something that the leadership team is passionate about and that they're going to drive this forward. And that increases the chance of individual employees also contributing to the change. One story that really connects well to this topic is about Alan Mulally, the former CEO of Ford Motor Company. Alan Mulally joined Ford when they were doing a huge loss. I think it was something around 19 billion in that year. And his single job was to turn the company around. He started to create a very simple 3-point approach to actually making Ford profitable again. But what he did after that was even more important. He traveled from one fort site to the other in various countries, and over time he gave the same speech over and over and over again. He knew, based on his own words, he was done when people sitting in the audience could basically mimic him doing the talk that he was doing. He knew that everyone had heard the message and that the message was clear to each one of them and that they were aligned across that message. Number 5, allowing too much complacency. Independent from whether you're a control culture, which takes things usually slower or not, it's super important to address the complacency or the current habits of organizations and individuals early on. Because if you allow for too much complacency, things are not going to move at all. And for every change initiative, you need to get things rolling. Otherwise, there's not going to be a change. Number 6, permitting obstacles to block the new vision. Every single change initiative that I've been a part of or that I have observed has had obstacles as part of them. That's very normal. The most important thing here is that those obstacles, similar to impediments in terms of product development, need to be removed. If we don't address those obstacles head on, again, the change initiative is not going to start at all. And we're not going to make any meaningful progress, which also means that at some point, people will be frustrated and not willing to continue the change journey. Number 7, failing to create short-term wins. Similar to the previous point about obstacles, it's very important to create short-term wins because every single one of those wins creates more enthusiasm, creates more energy to drive the change forward. And if we don't do that, we create more frustration because the change in itself is hard. And if we don't have those success stories, internal success stories, it's going to be very frustrating to move forward. Finally, number 8, declaring victory too soon. In many organizations, we see that at some point, after some progress has been made, people believe that the change is done, that we have already achieved our outcomes. Most likely, they do this way too early. At one conference, I attended a session which was called "Every Agile Transformation Fails After 14 Months." Of course, I was curious, so I went and observed that session. I listened to the speaker. The theory was, every agile transformation starts at the beginning of a year. It's part of a larger organization strategy, which is great. Now, during that year, they make certain progress and they reach their KPIs. And by the end of the year, they probably are like, yay, we succeeded, we did a lot of good work, we achieved our goals, etc. But for the next year, they suddenly have a new goal. And what happens to the previous goal? It becomes secondary. The moment it becomes secondary and not first prio, people take away their energy, people take away their focus, people take away their time from that particular goal. And 2 months into the next year, suddenly everything goes back to how things were before the agile transformation started. So when you and your organization embark on this journey to make your organization more agile, whatever that means to you, be aware that this is not going to be a 1-year or 2-year initiative. This is a continuous learning journey. And as we have covered several case studies throughout this course, like Hire, like Amazon, all of those companies have been on a decades-long continuous improvement journey. This were the 8 points or the 8 pitfalls according to Don Kotter when it comes to organizational change. When we explore the next videos in this section, you will see how you can address these pitfalls systematically. See you in those videos.